All right, hello. This is day 2 of the modeling, and so I've had some time to think about the shirt. And while I do like it as it is right now, I definitely think there's a way I can make it slightly better. And in addition to making it better, there's also like a few things I can do so that I can showcase a little bit more knowledge to you guys. So I'm going to be doing that. So let's start off with just making another sketch for this idea I have. I'm going to use a grease pencil this time because grease pencil is slightly better than just using the pen tool. And what I'm thinking of doing here is going to do a quick rough draft, right? We're gonna have two sections. We're gonna have a top section, and then we're gonna have a sort of tie in the middle, which flares out into this kind of dress-like pattern. So it's technically still a shirt, but it's like, okay, actually, it's not a shirt, it's a dress. It's literally just a dress or like a gown. So this is what I'm thinking of, and this is a little bit more complicated than just making a shirt, but I already showed you guys how to make the shirt. So I think I can also show you guys how I would go about doing this, the modeling, and then there's also the rigging aspect, which I think is really interesting because I've done this a few times, and I think I have, cracked the code of how you would rig like skirts or like stuff like that, like jackets and stuff. So I think we're gonna do something like that. Okay, so once again, I'm sketching out the basic shapes that I need. This time I focused on breaking down the overall silhouette into smaller shapes so I don't have one big blob. And I tried my best to use as much diagonal or curved lines as possible, as I want the character to feel a bit more soft and calm. It's just a general art tip, but straight lines with perpendicular corners can be perceived as more aggressive, while curved lines and rounded edges feel softer. So you can use that to set the base vibe of your character, but of course, it's a Minecraft character, and we're made of cubes, so a lot of them have sharp edges by default. But this doesn't really matter in the overall scheme of things. And I also want a different kind of sleeve. So this sleeve is like super simple, but also kind of boring. So I want to try something new. So we'll have this will be like the end of the sleeve, and I want it to be kind of puffy. I'm gonna try like put a point here, a point here, right? Because I want it to puff outwards, and I'm gonna make it slightly thinner than I would normally do. Like that. Is that okay? I don't know if that's okay. I'm gonna hide this just to see. It's definitely too fat. Sadly, this is as far as it goes, actually. I kind of want to make it a little bit thinner, but that's fine. I'll just make the arms thicker. Okay, we'll take this as our second outfit, and we'll try this out. And we're going to split this up again into two sections. What's down here? We're going to start off with this top section. Okay, we're going to cut in the middle, down, line up with these two. Oh, and I also forgot that it's supposed to be mirrored. All right, there's the top. Next part's relatively simple. I'll just add another plane, rotate it, scale it down. Oh, and this one does not need to be mirrored because it is asymmetrical. Just gonna scale this down, move it to this position, move this over here, add a cut, rotate it a little bit. Yep, and then we'll just move you forward. And yeah, we basically have what we need. Now we do the same thing again. Gonna duplicate it, move it down, and we're gonna do the, I guess, like the skirt portion of this dress. What I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna put this inside the, I guess, sash. We're just gonna go here and here. I'm gonna add a bit of deformations. to make it look nice, I'm going to duplicate this, move this lower, same thing. Dissolve the edge, do this. And then we're going to add another in the center just so we can move this a bit inward so we can kind of see that it puffs outwards. That's like kind of the main thing I want. I want it to puff outwards. Okay, now we're going to go with the actual model and make sure it kind of fits. Let's add, I can barely see it because they're actually overlapping. As they're overlapping, let's add a little bit of outwards movement with these guys. Yep, now you can tell the different layers and also I just honestly I'll move you guys back. It's outwards, actually no. I'm gonna select all the skirt areas and make them smaller. Next up is this one. Okay. Now another thing I want to do is actually I want to connect this and this somehow. Because I don't want them to be separate. I want them to be connected. But I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do that. And that's the fun. That's the fun part. Finding out how to do it. So first thing I think I can do. Connect him like this. Well, the reason I do this is because when we actually rig, oh, that's an issue. But basically, when I rig this, you can see that it'll connect back. Or maybe not actually. I think I'll leave it separate. I'll probably have issues. I want to break the body proportions because, of course, I am. Okay, so I'm gonna hide the arms just to see what this looks like. Okay, it definitely looks too small. Like, looks extremely small. So what I'm gonna do here is this is gonna be a different method of rigging the arms than the actual rig uses. And I'm gonna need the visuals. Arm mechanisms, we're gonna use this. Okay. I'm gonna add a new shape key here. Ooh, there's an issue. We can fix that later or now. Yep, issue fixed. We're gonna need a little. We're gonna need a better like collar, I guess. Hmm. I probably would want to make the head slightly smaller because it's not fitting with the current body shape. So I think totally fine with me. Face anchor, don't really care about that. About this much, it should be fine. Right, let's add a little bit of flair to this. I could go for like a bow, like a bow, little bow for. Right, as like the connecting piece here, I can like put a bow or a flower or something. It looks like this. Unlike this, I am not the best at drawing, but we can try some. I'm going to do this outside of the actual model. Try it here. So here we have the actual center. Make it a little bit rounded, but still cubic. Right, and then we're going to just duplicate these, extrude them, move them outwards and upwards. Take them and increase their size. Do I increase their size actually? No, I have to decrease their size actually. Like this. Add those, and also honestly, I have to delete this half because we're going to use a mirror modifier. I think I can dissolve this and add a double loop cut. I feel like this is how Patient would do it. Maybe add another loop cut in the center. All right, this is probably one where I would add a subdivision surface. Try something like this, where you can move it up. All right, this is fine. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna actually rig this. In addition to that, I'm gonna move. I give it a bit of depth by doing that. Okay, but then we're also gonna rig it so that it feels like we can actually move it, right? Because that'll just be an extra thing you guys get to learn today. Remove all the sketching stuff. I want to make it like at the very edge. Right, I think this is fine. All right, now let's do that kind of frilly collarbone, or not collarbone, sorry, collar. Duplicate, extrude upwards, right? So here, how do I plan on doing this? Okay. Firstly, I feel like this has to go a bit further down. Need to think. This looks too sharp. Well, it's definitely too sharp. I'm okay with this. And then just, make it, just to actually make it match here, I'm going to try do this where, okay, we have this, right? And it continues downwards. I feel like that might be a good design choice. I might be wrong, but we're going to do it anyway. Right? Because it's not too, I would like to describe this as not being too connected to the actual final mesh. I can, or what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is because it's separate, I can delete it whenever I want. So I'll keep it as is for now. Right, another thing I'm going to do, because I just had this idea, is I'm going to use this as one color, and then I'll do a different color, where instead of doing that, I just do this. Okay, and this is what it looks like. Right, so this one does not have a sharp edge, which might be good design-wise, I guess, because I want this to be a softer look. I want it to be kind of a little bit cozy, I guess. Ooh, I kind of like how I kind of turn the top inwards. That's kind of cool. Can I take advantage of this further? I have to do this. Yeah, I don't think I can, unless I push this outwards again. That is okay. I'm okay with that. I don't hate it. Move this outwards so we get a more circular shape, I guess. Might as well just keep on going with the circular look. Okay, we have that, and we'll have to figure out if this looks good, because this top part and this bottom part don't feel like they belong together. But again, we could always change that. It's okay. But I think one issue is that this is too, I guess it's too thick. Right, we'll leave this as is. And I think it's fine. And I go do a check with some people to see how this looks. Okay, so another thing I think I can do is I can add a little bit of detail on the bottom of this, right? So right now it looks like this. I could possibly add this. I've tried to do this with my Petra preset, but for some reason that I forgot, I ended up not doing it. So I guess I'll probably figure out why I didn't do it. Nope. Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't like it, I guess, that time. So we're gonna undo everything. Okay, so I kind of locked in for the next few hours because I was really thinking about the design, and so I didn't really say anything. But what I was basically doing here is that I was adjusting the sleeves based on some critique from my sister. She's a lot more knowledgeable on fashion compared to me, and having that second or third opinion can really open your eyes to some great designs. So I added some loop cuts to the edge of the sleeves, then I puffed them out so they looked a little bit more circular, then I extruded them out and separated the ends by scaling them down. This gave it the frilly look, which I think adds to the feminine design. I did try afterwards to sharpen the frills, but it ended up looking like torn edges, which, okay, don't get me wrong, it isn't inherently bad, but it was not the look I was going for in this character design. So I guess I saved it for a future character that might like this. I then also added in another sort of tie-in, kind of like the sash in the waist. This is just to separate the two sections of the sleeve. We have the puff section in the back, and then we have the frilly section at the end. And again, this was just to break up the shapes and make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, that adds a little bit of, I guess you can say texture to it. Let's try add sharpness to this. Nah. Now, here, I'm trying to add another knot, or a bow, to the sleeves the same way I did to the waist area. However, it took quite a while. In fact, this whole section was actually an hour long and I sped this up by almost 20 times. In the end, I decided to just duplicate and reuse the bow from the waistline, and because there were so many bows, it actually felt a bit cluttered, so I ended up deleting the bow on the waistline, so I never got to use it. Now, this is all to show that modeling is pretty time consuming and is also an iterative process. You usually have to go through all of these trial and errors, especially if it's a new piece of clothing that you've never made before. So, always try to be patient with yourself and keep on experimenting. After you've made a few bad designs, you'll eventually find a good design. And then after making a few good designs, you'll gain some intuition on how to consistently get better and better designs. After I was satisfied with the bow on her sleeves, I went ahead and did more corrections to the dress. I adjusted a bit of the proportions, and I also tried to reintroduce the bow somehow, but it didn't look good anymore, so I decided to just scrap the idea and keep the dress as is. I also added flaps or creases in the dress. This was done by selecting an edge loop and then ripping it using Alt plus V. Then I simply pushed it inwards or outwards depending on the direction, and it looked like a proper skirt with the shadows. I also did multiple variations of the skirt just to see what would look best, and then I asked some of my boys for some opinions on it. So I ended up with these four. I am inclined to use the one on the second one. I'm inclined to use the second one, but I don't know. Something is missing about it, and I just can't put my head around it. But I think we can definitely start with just that. I'm feeling like this pocket isn't working. All right, so next, besides some corrections, I think we can move on straight to the hair now that we're done here. So we have two sets of clothes, technically. We have the dress. I will call this dress. We're going to add a new collection called dress. And then we have shirt. Now, something I noticed is I actually might want this to be slightly not, or not, I want it to be not too or down. This. And then we can just move this up. So make it looks like her legs are slightly longer. So we're rocking these two things. New collection, we're gonna give it a shirt collection, right? And we're gonna move shirt over here. Since we've added this, we might as well add it to the shirt as well. Right? Yeah, obviously the shirt is hella boring, but it is what it is. There's only so much detail we can add to a shirt. Okay, that'll be enough for the shirt. And then, yeah, so we can switch between the shirt and the dress. Obviously, the dress is a lot more modeled, clearly. But we're probably just going to have to live with that. Female fashion is usually much easier to do than male fashion. All right, so let's move on with the dress for now. And then if we need to add any changes, we'll add some changes. For now, though, let's work on the hair. So we're going to just add a new layer on our grease pencil. Yep. And hide the old layer. I'm going to draw this new layer and we're going to make her hair. Let's use like a nice color like this. And we're going to start. I actually already did her hair, but we're going to do it again. So I'm going to get the outline of the hair first, right? So the hair will most likely be in this kind of okay. I think that's about good. Lower it down a little bit. Make it a little shorter. And okay, we'll use this as our base. And so this one's relatively simple to do. I'm gonna add a plane. All right, so we're gonna start with a plane. I'm gonna turn off the cavity because it's a little laggy. Right, scale it down. The way I do here is I always start with the edges, and then I add little cuts, and then I put the in-betweens. We'll leave this as is, actually. Right, and then we simply duplicate. I'll work on the edge first, actually. Oh, it's the shadow that's bringing lag. There we go. All right, and you can notice that I'm obviously like, I guess you can say I'm clipping through the head, but to me that's not an issue at all because I'm planning on just default. It's the same with with the clothes. Only the outline matters. Nothing else matters when it comes to this. Right? As long as the outline looks good, you don't really care about what the base shape is. Okay, I'm gonna take these two, duplicate, and flip it. Okay, and then we're gonna add a tiny bit of this upwards thing, so it looks a little bit circular. And we're gonna add the in-betweens. Okay, and now here we can just do this. So we're gonna select these. I'm gonna obviously add a shape key because in case I do want to change it back, I can. There you go. Okay, so this looks. I'm gonna delete this actually first. Take these out. Hide this. Hide this. You can use a mirror modifier. I'm gonna take some inspiration from the old model just to see how it looks like. Okay, the old model is relatively it's almost a right angle. You can see here. Almost a right angle. So I should probably try and make it match that. Sharing here. Because I do want to see and compare because I feel like I'm missing something. It's definitely that it's likely that it's not wide enough, right? Something like this. Yeah, this looks a little bit better. Let's just take a quick look. I'm going to take a quick look at how it actually is supposed to look like. Object. Okay, so we just like put this on top of the character just to see what it looks like. Yeah, this is fine. Let's compare it to the hair that I just made. It's about the same. However, there's a bit of nuance. This actually bends outwards, not inwards. This is why good sketch is always helpful. This counts as a sketch as well, just so you guys know. If you have hair that you already want to use, you can just copy paste it. No issue with that at all. And I'll make her hair slightly longer. Apply it, combine, and then I'm going to add a little bit of this spacing. So when we solidify it, turn on cavity once more. Now we can see, there we go. Now it looks much better. I think we were just missing the cavity. Okay, and there's like a few gaps that don't look good, right? But that's totally fine because what you can do is you could just copy the hair you just made, move it back. I want to separate it actually, so it's easier to select. And I'm going to move it downwards. And I'm going to use this as a secondary layer to fill in those gaps. This is also useful when you're actually animating your hair, because when you animate your hair, you'll see that, let's say we move this, like, we rotated it up like this, and we can see her forehead. If there's absolutely no hair there, it looks a little weird. So having this like back layer of hair as like a base is kind of nice. I quite enjoyed that back layer of hair. This one can just be here. Right, and we're just gonna add a little bit of extra detail here. Right, just copying what I did here. This is a little bit thin. All right, it's nice. This is a little smoother though, so I might want to kind of follow that. That's it's totally fine. Another thing I want to do is I take the top ones, give it a mean crease, and then all these bottom ones will have vertex crease. Oh, actually, wait, no. Yeah, this is fine. So the top one needs mean crease, and I'll explain that later. But the everything else needs a vertex crease. So I'm gonna start this one hair at a time. Add a vertex crease and make sure this goes above the solidify. Let's just go over here, see what it looks like. Always add things when you want to. This is pretty good. Let's increase this, make it smooth. And then once we're done with that, we can take all the top strands and simply just extrude them backwards. I'm gonna size them in the y-axis by -1 to flip the edges, move it downwards, flip it again. I'm gonna add, oh, actually, wait, instead of doing that, I'm gonna go like this. Increase 0, move it down again. All right, and the reason I did that is because I can now easily just make this pop out to match the ones in the front. Yeah, and we just basically, the back here is not as important as the front here. So I can just do this. And I'll do a little bit of editing later, but it's not too important. Mostly because, mostly when you look at a character, you look at the front side. And even if we do look at the character in the back side, she'll also have a ponytail, which will add a bit of detail that you won't have to, that doesn't look too plain. Right. So next up is the sides, and the sides I have a. Oh wait, before that, I did notice that this was not maximally creased. Let's set this crease to maximum. Yep. And again, the reason why I did the crease in the first place is because of this, right? If we didn't have any crease here, it would look like this, and it looks terrible. You need the crease to make sure that the edges are sharp there. All right, that is all fine and dandy. And then here, if you want to do the side is really hard to make anything unique. Besides, you can like do a little bit of changing, but most of the time, whenever I do my characters, it's going to be this exact same way. You start off by taking this edge, duplicating it, and then you extrude. And you kind of just follow this, right? For now, you select this whole thing, flip the normals, and then you separate this out. After you separate this out, we'll turn off the subdivisions for now, and we're gonna add a mirror modifier. All right, and it goes on the other side. Now you simply loop cut however much strands you want. I usually do 5. Sometimes I'll do 4, but I usually do 5. Right, so we'll do 5. Take these, press Y to separate. Right. Just gonna make sure that this is individual origins. Size it a little bit. It's slightly thinner, and then we can just shape this individually. So let's say I want this one to be shorter. I can just delete that vertice. All right, let's do that. This one as well, size it down. Not make it too far down. I think that's fine. This up. This outwards, size this down a little bit. Remember that you'll probably not get this in the first try. So for now, I would just recommend that the only thing you do is just to make your model. You can always improve it later. It will be a little bit annoying to have to retexture your model, but once you have the base model and the rig, it's really easy to make changes to the actual base model because you can just, you can just move it, right? And if you have to retexture it, well, you'll learn how to retexture it as well here, so it won't be too big of a deal. That's nice. I think one of these, I'd like to make it kind of bend outwards like that. Yep. This one, we're going to push it out, size it up, size this down a little bit, size this down as well. This one, I want to make this also a little bit thicker. This goes inwards, so that's already fine. So up, I'm going to add another cut here just so it matches with the back here. And I will have you rotate, or not rotate, but curve outwards to inwards. And you can notice we have gaps here as well. And we're just going to do the exact same thing we did with the front here. And we're going to add like extra bits of hair in here just to fill those gaps up. Unlike the front, where we did it because we had animated hair, right? The ones on the side won't be animated unless you want to rig it, but I don't do that because that's just a lot of work to do. So for these ones on the sides, I do it specifically just to cover up the holes. So it doesn't have a kind of double use. Right, this one goes inwards. And I want this one to also, okay, move this further in. Okay, pretty good. Take all of these guys as well. I'm going to move it up, move it outwards. Oh, why? You have a weird, wait, you have a weird bending thing. Yeah, wait, you're actually bending really weirdly. Issue here. That's why. I think that's why anyway. Yeah, I'll just assume. Ah, no. There's something else actually. Ooh, they actually have mean vert. Okay. That's important. There we go. Yeah, I had a feeling something weird is happening there. All right, I'm gonna have to change something in the back here later, but for now we'll focus on this. Okay, so now when we turn this on, it looks nice and smooth. We're gonna do a little bit more. So I'm just gonna take this, plug it there, take this, plug it here, one more here, right? We'll focus on these guys. Let's move them inwards. Let's curl this outwards. I'm gonna change this because I want to have a different solidify value here. I think I would want to sharpen these. Like sharp. Oops, what happened there? Oh, I accidentally. There you go. Oh, actually, wait, no, I can just do this. There we go. Because I want this to have like a nice sharp angle. Honestly, I might just copy this one because it's already ready. Move it here. Give it like a similar shape. I might squeeze it here. then flip it. Okay, I will take that. Yep, and then I guess might just to make it so that it matches with that, we'll curl you out as well. Not too far out, because you're not the same as those guys. Then we will dissolve this edge. I'm okay with showing a little bit of the backside of her hair here, because that's usually how the back of your hair is. Right? And also, since her hair is tied back, I don't have any inclination to make the hair go down here. Though I might do it in the future. Who knows? It depends on if I think it looks better or not. Right? And I think we have successfully done the hair.